So how much do you want me to go into like all the detail here or just like breeze over it? Because I mean, there's stories with all of it, right? There's all the stories.
You know, it's up to you.
All right. Well, then I'm going to go back to Megadeth. So it turns out that Lars shows up to the festival with a big promoter at the time, John, I can't remember his last name, but he's got a black Lamborghini Countach, right? And they pull up in that, you know, and Lars gets out. Now, to the best of my knowledge, Dave and Lars haven't seen each other since the split way back when, right? You know, when Dave got fired and I've heard him tell me the story and he uttered the lines of, what, no warning, no second chance? And was done, right? That's, you gotta go. So they're hanging out, right? And it's over on stage left side. And I don't know if they were watching GNR before we played, or I think like David Lee, because it was like Maiden headlined, then Kiss, then David Lee Roth, then us, then GNR, then like Halloween. I think that was the lineup that year. So I don't know if it was after our show, but they're hanging out stage left, right? And Gumby was there, and like I kind of came up like mid-conversation, but I remember, I don't know, Lars said some comment to Chuck about his drum playing, and Chuck had one of the best responses I've ever heard. And Chuck said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he said, well, at least our record doesn't sound like the Flintstones. And Lars goes, what do you mean? And Chuck goes, yabba, dabba, do. Like, it was just like, the look was like, what? You know, and of course I'm kind of losing my shit and Gumby a little bit, but that's what I remember. Now it may have been different. I'm sure if you got the other parties, they'd be like, no, that didn't happen, or this didn't happen, or Gumby would tell it differently because he was there, but I was just like, you know, that's one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. So let's see, moving forward to Testament, all right? So I get brought into this by Kerry Wittig, who I've talked about before, and there's a whole freaking segment we could do on Kerry. Not only Kerry when he was mixing sound for bands and like production managing them, tour managing them, but when Kerry was playing in a band, a local band from Elmira, New York in the 70s called Glasshead, right? Which became After Hours, which became, or not After Hours, which became Larry, Big Dogs. There was a whole bunch of incarnations of it, but whatever. Kerry calls me up, hey, I'm gonna go work for this band Testament. Again, one of those bands that recorded in Ithaca, New York, Pyramid Sound, whatever. Kerry got in. So he goes out and I go out with him, and like 2 days later, or 2 gigs or whatever, he's gone, right? So now I'm out there. I'm working for Alex, the guitar player, the main lead guitar player. And sorry, I readjusted there, Alan. So I'm working for Alex, and at this point in my career, I'm in and out of drinking, okay? So like I've, you know, been a drunk, had a problem with cocaine, blah, 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 it's whatever. So I really haven't been drinking, right? So there's 3 nights when the crew guys each had like drama with alcohol. So I'm gonna start with myself. So you're on a tour bus and you're living on it with like up to 12 people total, right? There's usually 12 bunks in the US, that's the max. In Europe, you'll get buses that have 16, okay? Double deckers. So I don't know if we were 12 or not. There was 5 in the band, right? And then there was 3 backline plus the LD audio. We were at least 10, right? So, you know, you're in a tight living area, whatever. So you don't ever want to wake up in your bunk naked. That's just not good, right? Because you don't sleep, you wear like shorts or whatever, you don't want to wake up naked. And then you also don't want to wake up naked with your curtain open and you're rolling down the road because you're like, oh shit, the band came on in the morning, my curtain's open, I'm naked in the bunk, this is bad, right? Because at that time it was band and crew on the bus, and after the gig the band would get a hotel room and they would stay in their rooms and the crew would stay on the bus. And the next morning they'd come out, we'd roll to the next town, do the show. So, and worse than that, I wake up and I'm like, my fucking ass cheeks hurt. What in the hell happened? So, this is relayed to me, right? Because I don't remember it. So to get to the, basically, I had started drinking Canadian beer because we'd been in Canada. And for all you kids that remember back in those days when like beer was like 3.5 in upstate New York and all that, or wherever in the US, and in Canada you could get like, you know, Johnny Labatt's Extra Stock, which was like almost double. It was 6.5% alcohol. So I started drinking those and ran out of those, and then I proceeded to like drink most of the drummer's bottle of vodka, right? I mean, it was cheap vodka. It was pop off. So what was that, 40 proof or 50? It wasn't crazy proof, right? But still, it was a large quantity. So that's kind of the point where I like don't remember, right? So as related to me, they like the drummer and the guitar player, not Alex, but the other guitar player, I can't remember his name, were entertaining some ladies in the front lounge, talking and whatnot. So they like, I'm being a freaking asshole. They get me to go to bed, right? So like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I like shit myself in my bunk or whatever, but somehow I come back out, right? And like, because the bus driver was like, hey, you shit in the bog, you shit on the bus, which is a no-no, right? And I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. Don't remember it, right? So it's whatever, something happened. So they get me back in bed again, and I come out now buck-ass naked. Then I start like, they're listening to something, or I put something in, and I start like moshing through the front lounge of the bus, on the couches, whatever. But finally they get my fucking stupid drunk ass back, right? So in the morning, the band comes on, and if you're familiar with Testament, the singer is Chuck Billy, and he's a rather large human being, right? So here I am, naked, in my bunk, curtain open, like my ass is like, so I'm like laying towards the wall of the bus, my ass is hanging out into the hallway out of my bunk, right? And Chuck like took his lighter out and he burnt the hairs on my ass, and he's like, dude, you didn't even move, right? So, okay, I pretty much said all you can do and be a dumbass, but wait, there's more. So either the previous night or the night after at the drum tech, right, got really liquored and got in his bunk and puked, right, and got out of his bunk, and then got into the guitar player Alex's bunk, still like covered in puke. So Alex gets on the bus to get in his bunk, and like Herb's in his bunk, right, whatever. And then the other guitar, that was the drum tech. The other guitar tech, we're in Florida, I want to say, and he was liquored, and he was hanging out with this girl that was like supposedly the wrestler Jake the Snake's girlfriend or something. So he's like showing up and like gonna fight everybody and whatnot. So yeah, so it was the three separate nights of drama, right? Well, needless to say, like I never got a call back on that gig, right? It was kind of like one and done. Like, yeah, see ya. Go back to upstate New York. We're going back to like to I think they lived in Oakland or whatever. We're going back home. You stay there. So let's see, that concluded 88. 89, what was 89? 89 was Cro-mags? Cro-mags started 89. And again, Kerry Wittig. Hey, I need you to come out. And it was like Cro-mags and then this German band, like thrash band called Destruction. They came over from Germany, so it's like Cro-mags and Destruction. I mean, they opened for us, but it was a lot closer to like a shared bill, headline bill, than like you'd want it, you know, than like I believed. I look back on it now and go, oh yeah, they were putting asses in seats. It was more of like a co-headlining thing than whatever. So I was taking care. At that point, like John Joseph, the original singer of Cro-mags, has departed. It's Harley's playing bass and singing. Dougie's still playing guitar. Mackie, the original drummer, is gone. Petey from Murphy's Law is playing drums. And then Paris Mitchell Mayhew, we called him Kevin, is playing the other guitar, right? So you got some of the original guys, some new guys. It was a good band and, you know, straight up hardcore band. So we go out on this tour in a motorhome and like, whatever, it's, you know, it's a hardcore tour. It's not a van tour, it's a step up from that, but it's still, you know. And I don't know, I have memories of it, I don't, I guess I don't have any. I'm sure I'll think of anecdotes later, right? But I don't have any right away to think of. Oh, I do have one, so I forget where we were. But so Harley's playing bass and singing, right? And this guy would come up on stage, body surf up, and he would kick the microphone, and Harley's getting hit in the face and the teeth with a Shure SM58, which hurts, right? So this happens like twice, and I see the guy come up, and I dive in after him, right? So we're like tussling, and once you go in the crowd, it's kind of like if you watch Apocalypse Now, don't go in the jungle unless you're going all the way. Once you leave that stage and you dive in the crowd, you're kind of on your own, right? And I remember like realizing like, holy crap, I'm like all the way out at front of house, right? And then like I just got the shit beat out of me, right? Like whatever, it happened. And, you know, and Harley was the guy who saved me. He dove in after me and like pulled these guys off me. Like, man, you okay, right? So thank you, Harley. But so that's one thing I remember from it. And then, you know, just the usual, like the motorhome constantly breaking down and just, I don't know. I'm just trying to think if there's any other amusing anecdotes that I can come up with. I'm sure there is, but whatever. So then we went to Bad Brains, again with Kerry, because he had done, Chris Williamson was managing them, and he was also a promoter. His company was called Rock Hotel in New York at that time. So he would promote a bunch of shows, and I think he was involved with the Cro-mags thing as well, but I could be wrong. Or no, it wasn't Chris. Chris Williamson managed Cro-mags. I take that back. And it was another gentleman, I can't think of his name, who managed Bad Brains. So my apology, I screwed that up. So it was Chris with Cro-mags, and then I forget the other guy's name that managed Bad Brains. But at any rate, Kerry knew him. And again, Kerry's like, hey, let's go out and we'll work for Bad Brains. Now we came in like midway through it because there was problems. So there was like already established guys there that were there, had been with him for a while, but it wasn't working. So we got called into it. And I just remember like, you know, and at that time I wasn't smoking weed, I wasn't drinking, you know, and like the amount of weed going on, and it was just like, man, you guys smoke too much pot, you got to stop. And they're like, what? Not the band, this is the crew, right? You know, and I'm like, you know, whatever, that didn't fly, so that didn't work, right? I was trying to, you know, be the whatever, this is what you got to do, and it didn't work. So, you know, we somehow got through that. Like, I mean, that was cool because they hadn't toured with the original lineup, right, for a while. So like everybody came out to see those shows. Like we played this place called the Stone in San Francisco, right? We did 3 nights there, and like they had this curtain they would close, and then they'd open it when the band came out. Well, when HR, the singer, didn't want the curtain open yet, right? The kids freaking tore it down. It's just like, oh, well, it's open now, right? Just ripped it down. And we were out in, I think, Omaha, Nebraska, right? Playing, I don't know if it was a gym or whatever, but, you know, you got the stage and there wasn't really like a proper barricade. I think we were using like folding tables over on their sides. Well, when the band hit, it was such a push, and not only pushed into the tables, but it pushed the entire stage back like 6 feet. And there was this overhang at the building, and the whole truss came over and everything. Yeah, it was kind of nightmarish, if you will, you know. But yeah, I just remember that like the fans just going crazy for those guys. Just not, I mean, it was an amazing band, and they were on fire, and you know, he put all that together. But yeah, they hadn't toured the original lineup. It would, you know, go in and out of that. Yeah, I think to this day, I don't know. I haven't seen any of them or talked to any of them, but I was taking care of Doc's guitars and trying to take care of monitors, and you know, it's like whatever. So what's that? That's 89. So that's most of 89. I can't remember doing anything in the end of 89 gig wise. So maybe we should hold it there.
Okay.
If you want, or we can go into 90, whatever you want. I could actually get up and move a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, if you don't mind.
It's 1 o'clock.
I was gonna say, I was gonna